Hey guys, welcome to Cabbage Talks. I'm Noah, and today I'm going to be doing the first anime review of this channel, Aku no Hana. I just came out for this anime yesterday, just finished. It's supposed to get a second part, I think. It should, because it said into part 1 at the end, so it should. And based on the ending, it needs a second part, because I need closure, and everyone that watched it needs closure. This anime worked at a really weird pace. It was very slow paced, but also a lot of things happen. So I'm just going to try to work through these as fast as possible. Please bear with me. I'm just going to work through the plot points really quickly. If you have not watched it, I would not watch this video because I'm going to spoil like everything. Here we go. Three main characters: Kasuga, Saiki, and Nakamura. Kasuga. He loves to read, especially books by Baudelaire. Baudelaire's French, and his favorite Kasuga's favorite book by Baudelaire is Les Fleurs de Mal, which is The Flowers of Evil, which is what Aku no Hana means. So, there's that. Saiki. She is Kasuga's muse. She is the most beautiful, most smartest, yeah? She's the most beautiful, she's the smartest, and she is she's just like that girl, in that class. She's like the perfect, girl. She's his muse, he worships her. Nakamura. She's the weird girl in the class that sits in the back and cusses at the teacher, and she is psychotic, which you will see later. So, he forgets his book after school, so he goes back in, and he sees like his gym clothes on the ground. Well, he ends up stealing them, and immediately feels very badly about it once he gets home. He's panicking. He's like in his head. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to tell her. I have to tell the truth. It's the right thing to do. I have to tell her the truth. Maybe she won't hate me." He goes to school. Everyone's in a tizzy over it. Tizzy? I don't think I've ever used that word. Everyone is in a funk over it. I'm just going to say everyone's upset. He doesn't end up saying anything. Nakamura, she comes up to him after school, and she basically says, "I know what you did. I saw you. I know you stole the gym clothes. Form a contract with me, and I won't tell anyone." So the contract is basically she won't tell anyone if he does whatever she says. So, eventually it gets to the point where Saiki actually starts to like Kasuga a little bit, and she and Kasuga are ready to go on a date. But Nakamura thinks it's a good idea to make Kasuga wear her gym clothes, wear Saiki's gym clothes under what he's wearing while he's on a date with Saiki. So he's very, very stressed out about that. So he's on the date with her. He buys her the book, Le Fleur de Mal. He really wants her to read it. It's his favorite book, so she says thank you. He asks her to go out with him, which technically wasn't part of the plan. See, Nakamura wanted Kasuga to kiss Saiki because she's creepy and she wants him to do that. So she wanted that to happen. Well, instead he asks her, "Hey, will you go out with me?" And she agrees, and he's in this holy, just heavenly moment until Nakamura pours a bucket of water on him and runs away. And he's afraid that she's going to see through his clothes. So he runs away. So that's kind of water under the bridge. The next day, they're going out, their boyfriend and girlfriend. But then, Sawa Nakamura becomes friends with Saiki, which Kasuga doesn't really like. So anyway, he goes over Saiki's house. She asks him if he's lying to him about anything because she's suspicious that that he likes Nakamura, which he says no. He says, "I'm not hiding anything." He feels horrible. He says, "You know what? I can't do this, Nakamura. Tell Saiki that I stole her gym clothes. I can't do this anymore." She says, "Okay, you know what? You're gonna come to the school with me. We're gonna break in." They get in, go into the classroom. Nakamura says, "You know what? No." Like she basically the whole time she wasn't gonna do it, but she basically goes, "No. Like you're gonna write down." She gives him a piece of chalk and says, "You're gonna write down everything that you did, every bad thing that you did. You're gonna write it on the board." So he breaks down and he does it. He just writes down everything. He confesses every single thing he did, even the thing with the date, wearing the clothes, and everything. It's all on the board. Then it escalates even more. They start knocking over tables. At this point he's just in a very weird place. He's kind of just he's screaming. They get the paint, splash it everywhere. They're throwing stuff, just breaking stuff, ripping papers, throwing them everywhere. So the next day, the whole school was in uproar over this. The room has basically just been destroyed. I mean, it's been messed up so badly. And Psyche is the only one that notices the flower that they drew on the ground. She's the only one that notices this huge flower on the ground. And she knows, I have a book with the same flower on the cover. Kasuga's the only one that reads these books. He did this? So she confronts him after school. And he tries to break up with her. She says, no, you know what? No. I want to understand you. I want to understand what goes on in your head. I want to know why. So no, we're not breaking up. He feels even worse. He just feels unworthy of her, basically. And a little bit later on, like a couple days later, because since he hasn't really been to school, Psyche shows up at his house. She yells into his window, "Hey, I don't care about any of that stuff. I know you took the gym clothes. That's just because you had a crush on me, right? It's fine. And I just, I want to understand you. I just want to understand you." That's when his mom comes in with the dirty clothes that he neglected to wash. Dummy! He didn't wash the clothes that he got all painty and dirty. So his mom knows. She's like, "Did you do this? Did you do that at the school?" He runs out. He ends up finding Nakamura on accident, I guess. And they say, "You know what? Let's just run away. Let's run away." So they try to run away. They bike all the way up this hill. It starts to rain, so they have to stop. Psyche, while she's walking around, she sees Kasuga's mom. And she's looking all around. She's like, "I haven't seen my son. Where's my, have you seen my son? Have you seen my son?" And she's like, "Oh, man, no way." She asks around. She ends up going up the mountain, too. She goes up, finds him there, and it comes down to this. He needs to decide between Psyche and Nakamura. He has to decide between those two. And he comes to the conclusion that, A, he doesn't understand Baudelaire at all. He doesn't understand the writings. He doesn't understand it. He just pretends like he does to appear different or act different. Because he wants to be different, but he's in reality not. B, he doesn't deserve either of them because he's empty. So they're both pissed at him. The cops show up looking for Psyche, and they all go back. Psyche and Kasuga officially break up. He hasn't talked to anyone like in this month. He hasn't talked to Psyche. He hasn't talked to Nakamura for sure because she's pissed at him. And he hasn't talked to his friends, which he hasn't talked to his friends in a very long time. So basically, it comes down to, he feels bad. He figures out basically why Nakamura's mad. And it's because she was disappointed in him. She wanted him to be that deviant, and she wanted him to, break down his walls, as she stated several times. And I guess he wouldn't do it. So he goes to her house, and she's not there. So her dad invites him in. He asks to go to the bathroom. He ends up going in her room, sees the diary of everything that's happened, and it basically reveals that she's a very lonely person, and she just wants to seek out a friend in a place where no one understands her, no one's like her. Nakamura walks in. She's like, "Get out!" So she runs away. He chases her. He stops her, and they fall over, and he's like, they basically kind of agree, like, "Hey, no, let's go over the mountain. Let's go over the hill. Let's really do it." Then it ends. This show was very controversial. Rotoscoping was a big thing of why it was controversial. For me, though, I liked the rotoscoping because I'm a fan of movies like Waking Life. I love that movie. That rotoscoping in that was great. But I think mixing anime with rotoscoping was a bold move. It may not have worked perfectly, but you have to admire them for the effort. So that's something I think you can at least look at. My main dislike about this whole show, really, the main one is Kasuga. He's the main character. He's basically, here's the thing. He's weak. He's very, very weak. And I'm not a Mary Sue, godly, character-loving person. But anyway, that's not the point. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Kasuga, and he's very weak, and he's very weak. The whole show, he does not change in his weakness, really. Yes, he breaks down his walls, but he's still just as weak and just as powerless as always, because he's still under Nakamura's strings. He's still being worked by her strings. He doesn't stick up for himself, really. He doesn't pick something and go, "Yes, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do." The character that comes to mind the most, honestly, is Yuki. And that show, I never thought that would even relate to the show at all. But in that way, it kind of does. I mean, honestly, I would even go as far to say that you have Kasuga and you have Nakamura, and you have Yuki and Yuno. Okay, Kasuga, Yuki, they're both very weak. They're both very withdrawn. Yuno, Nakamura, they're pretty psychotic. But you can kind of see that where I'm going with that. In this show, Kasuga is almost poisoned by her. I mean, she is toxic. She spreads her filth. Like she says earlier in the series, I wish my filth could spread all throughout the world or whatever. Because I guess she's bored with people when their ordinary lives or whatever. I mean, overall, Nakamura's character, that's not a problem for me. And Saiki's character, they did her fine. Kasuga is really my only issue. So, that's basically my review. It's a bit long, and I'm sorry. I will try to get better with these. My first one. So I'll try to get better with these. My MAL account, I will put it in the description box. And I rate this anime, I guess about a 7. And then it came to me. Kasuga's reasoning. The reason Kasuga did everything that he did. It was never about being a deviant, which I didn't think it was. It was just about being unique. I guess he had such an intense need not to be normal or not to be boring. And at the time when they were before he started like really vandalizing, they ruined the room. Nakamura was screaming at him, boring, boring, boring. You're nothing. You're just what are you? You're just like everybody else. And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because as he says later, he reads those books because it makes him feel different. It makes him separate himself from everyone else. So for her to yell at him and say, you're just like them, you are exactly like everybody else, and you're not different in any way, I guess he can't take that. So I just want to say that because I think that goes a lot into his character. The fact that he's very weak, but he's also a person that wants approval. But at the same time, he wants to be different. He kind of paints the picture of a lot of middle schoolers, I think. A lot of high schoolers. Hey, a lot of people in general. They want to be accepted, but at the same time, it's like I want to be unique. I want to be different. So I just wanted to add my little 2 cents, because it just came to me as I was grabbing screenshots. Anyway, see you guys later. Bye.